You know, these days fans do an awful lot of complaining about studio executives, but Disney for the most part seems to be immune. And I think that the reason that is that Disney is a very consumer-focused company. They give the peoples what they want. And I have to say, they've given me what I want. I know some of you are upset about this, but you can still go and see these movies in theaters. That's a simultaneous release, so Disney's making everybody happy, quite frankly. And while I do have some concerns about Bob Chapek, as do many Disney fans, hardcore people, particularly people who are familiar with who are like Disney theme parks fans, because that's the division that he comes from. That's what he used to run. But I gotta say, he's driving this, he's not only navigating a pandemic, but he's having the stock at Disney hit all-time highs. And again, he's doing what I want him to do. And he was handpicked by Bob Iger. And Bob Iger's a freaking genius. I think it's unlikely that the one huge mistake that he made in his life was to pick Bob Chapek as his successor. You're going to see, even in this video, Bob Iger's shadow looms large as the savior of the Disney company. So let's break it down. All right, so Disney dropped quite the bombshell yesterday. Black Widow pushed yet again now to July 9th, but this will be the last one because it's going to be a day-and-date Disney Plus release, as will Cruella, which still comes out at the end of May. Shang Chi, I knew Black Widow was going to get that July 9th date. Although we'll talk about it. I'm going to talk about each movie specifically. But first we'll talk about like the business perspective. But Shang-Chi was therefore pushed to September. They didn't push all the Marvel movies. They created a new date. The first Marvel movie ever to open in September. But there's a reason Marvel movies don't open in September. It's a crappy date. So a number of people in Hollywood suspect that Shang-Chi is also headed for a day-and-date Disney Plus release. And then Pixar's Luca will be a Disney Plus exclusive, just like Soul was, going straight to the service, not bypassing theaters, and at no extra charge. That worked out real good for Soul. Free Guy was also pushed back yet again 3 months, and Ryan Reynolds was quite funny about it, as per usual on social media. So as I said, I'm going to break this all down for you. Now this was yet another earthquake as movie theaters continue to worry about their future post-pandemic, that is, if they can even survive the pandemic. I'm not so sure anymore, to be honest. Well, some form of movie theater will emerge from all of this. Quite frankly, again, I think we're all going to be better for it. And this was just hours after Warner Brothers announced they had made a deal with Cineworld Regal, which means they're eventually going to make this deal with everyone, just like Universal first made their 17-day window pandemic deal with AMC, and then every other theater fell in line. But Warner Brothers is going to shorten the theatrical to digital window in 2022 from 74 to 76 days to now 45 days. That's quite the haircut. Will Warner Brothers movies go to HBO Max at no extra cost like they are now after 45 days, or will they be PVOD for rental, $20 for 48 hours? So far, Warner Brothers hasn't specified. I saw a lot of news outlets make assumptions, but Warner Brothers did not say specifically. I suspect it will be a similar deal to what Disney Plus is pioneering, HBO Max, but for an additional fee. Probably not $30 because HBO Max is so expensive, but maybe $20. I think that no extra cost on HBO Max is a pandemic special. And the Disney Plus price, by the way, I think will eventually go up to be at the same level around Netflix and HBO Max. It just started out real cheap to get everybody to sign up. Everything will just even out. These companies, again, if you ever want to know what Hollywood's thinking, think about how they would make money, and then you'll have your answer. And like Disney Plus, the reason I feel that Warner Brothers will do this with HBO Max is that means they will get 100% of the money. When you send something to PVOD, you have to give part of that purchase or rental price to the outlet that get it. Whether it's Amazon or iTunes or Fandango, you don't get the full, and when you release it in a theater, you don't get all of the money either because you have to share it with the exhibitor. But when you release a movie to your own streaming service, you get all the money if you charge an additional fee. So yes, on that note, Bob Iger left Disney one last gift as he rides off into the sunset or into whatever country he gets an ambassadorship to. And that's Disney Plus. That Bob Iger boy, he is a visionary. Truly, I don't think he's a creative visionary like Walt Disney was. Well, Walt Disney really wasn't a business visionary. I think he had that to some degree, but he has the 1-2 punch with his brother Roy. But Bob Iger, while not a creative visionary, is like the greatest business visionary, or one of the greatest business visionaries to ever live. He's like, no wonder he and Steve Jobs got along. They're very similar in their just awesomeness. And ruthlessness too, interestingly enough. But anyway, right now, Disney is the only studio, the only one with a global distribution system. That's very important because HBO Max, of course, is only in the United States right now, although it's starting to expand, but slowly. And it's a global distribution system where they get, again, 100% of the money. So Disney is more incentivized than any other studio to send their movies to Disney+. Even Nomadland at no extra cost has been a hit on Hulu. And with Star integrated into Disney Plus overseas, Disney even now has a way to release their more adult-friendly movies directly to the consumer if needed. Now, movie theaters, sure enough, are hopping mad, as they often are with Disney, because Disney is the most aggressive of the studios when it comes to negotiating profit split, on the movies they release. Even before the pandemic, lots and lots of fighting. Now, finally, with Raya, Cinemark, Harkins, who some of you were like, that's the best movie theater ever, Grace. So Harkins and Cineplex in Canada finally took a stand against Disney and refused to play the film. But Black Widow and Cruella are much bigger titles than Raya and the Last Dragon. So it would take all the movie theaters banding together to boycott those two movies to make a difference to Disney. And can any of those movie theater chains, any movie theater chain in general, afford to do that right now? I think the obvious answer is no. So I asked you what you plan to do, and fascinatingly, you're split right down the middle. 50% of you will pay the $30 for one or both films, Black Widow and or Cruella. Well, 50% of you will not. Now you might be like, but that's 50% who say no, Grace. But here's the thing. The majority of the 50% who say I will never pay $30 for a movie on Disney Plus, well, you're going to go see it in the theater. So Disney's getting Disney gets all the money. They cover everyone during the pandemic. They cover all the movie-going habits and preferences with this choice. It's really, I feel, the way to go. And to be fair, while it is devastating to see Disney pull 2 of its 3 movies from May, where theaters were hoping would kickstart the traditional summer movie season by moving Black Widow to July, I think that there is a better chance that more people will be comfortable seeing Black Widow in theaters in July, and that movie theaters overseas will just be open at all. Because today, Hollywood, as we talk about all the time on Movie Math, Hollywood is a global business, and the resurging, yet again, of COVID overseas in almost every area but Asia makes it impossible to successfully open a movie exclusively in theaters. I mean, we'll see how Warner Brothers films fare overseas, where they open exclusively in theaters. I suspect they'll make almost all of their money in Asia, where it could be quite a bit, to be fair. It could be quite a bit there. But again, Disney's opening in theaters and on Disney Plus, so they'll get that money too. I also believe this is a public relations move. Disney is a family-friendly company, and in a global health emergency, to not give people the choice of where to see the movie and to make people feel they're being forced to risk their safety is just a really bad look. This way, Bob Chapek himself said on the last Disney shareholders call that Disney doesn't like to ruffle any feathers. They're the Switzerland of studios. So they don't want to make anybody happy. If you want to go to a theater, go ahead. If you want to stay watch it at home, you can do that too. And with the two big guns, Warner Brothers and Disney, offering day and date options to their audiences, that leaves every other studio in a really bad spot. And everyone's going to be like, what about you guys? Why are you making us go to the movies if we don't feel comfortable? I mean, don't be surprised if A Quiet Place 2 debuts day and date on Paramount Plus, while Spiral and Peter Rabbit 2 might be scrambling for digital alternatives. Options to also offer. And what about blockbusters F9 and Top Gun Maverick, which come out before Black Widow, which again now is a day and date digital release? I think Universal and Paramount will have to do some serious thinking. Do they move those films yet again? Watch F9 on Peacock? That seems crazy to me. I mean, they could put Top Gun Maverick on Paramount Plus, but that also, I don't think those streaming services are as well established as HBO Max and Disney Plus. Which, HBO Max is, kind of lagging still. But at least they have clear branding thanks to the move that they did by putting all their 2020 2021 movies on the service and, the Snyder Cut and stuff like that. And I think all 2021 releases, quite frankly, have some serious thinking to do. So over the next few months, we're going to continue to see if there's any real box office growth and subscriber growth on these streaming services. Again, we're going to see where the money is. Now let's go movie by movie. I personally would not have moved Black Widow. I would have done a day and date on May 7th. As long as it's available on Disney Plus, why not kick off the summer movie season in May? And people have waited so long for Black Widow at this point, and they have this crazy Photoshop poster. That's like super Photoshopped. But I do like switching to the white suit. It's very definitive and clearly a new poster, which I think is important to make the movie seem fresh. And she looks great in the white suit. I think so. I'm very excited about this movie still. However, I know a number of you, your enthusiasm has waned a bit. But speaking of waning enthusiasm, while it has been established that Falcon and Winter Soldier was very popular in terms of people who tuned in, it's still not generating fan discussion like WandaVision. WandaVision broke the internet, and then it broke the internet with complaints because there wasn't enough that happened at the end of the show. And Falcon and Winter Soldier, just at least off the first episode, is not generating any discussion. And I think you see a little bit of that in the way that Disney has been a little bit more fervent in their promotion of it. It's tough to tell. But I do think that it's palpable that Marvel might have oversaturated the marketplace. I think they might have been like, uh-oh, people do need a little bit of a Marvel break. So I think that might also be factored into why Black Widow was pushed. So you give people a bit of a break. You actually give them off the month of May because Falcon and Winter Soldier is only 6 episodes. It'll be wrapped by then. So you give them a breather before Loki hits June 11th, and then you go into Black Widow. I think it's actually, from that perspective, I think it's very smart. And don't be surprised if you see a little bit more spacing between the Marvel properties because of this. They have so many shows that they're developing. As for Shang Chi, September, as I said, is not a great month for movies. And after Mulan and Raya both underperformed, I think this is why industry insiders suspect that Shang Chi is also headed for a day-and-date Disney Plus release along with theaters. Also, Disney Marvel is clearly protecting Eternals because that's directed by Golden Globe winner and Oscar nominee and likely winner there too, Chloe Zhao. That puts Eternals with its November release date in the awards corridor. And that has representation across the board in that movie. And I think that Marvel must feel, because the word of mouth on this thing, the buzz, it's like apparently something we've never seen before. I'm curious. I'd love to see stuff I've never seen before. And I think Marvel might suspect they have another potential Black Panther, i.e. a superhero movie that's an awards contender, which is why they probably didn't want to move Eternals and they gave Shang-Chi that crappy date. That's a bad date, boy. It's a bad date. Maybe Marvel could make September a thing, but so far nobody else has really been able to do that. Even Tenet couldn't do that. September's a tough month. On that note, I believe Disney is also protecting Encanto, because that's, of course, their big Lin-Manuel Miranda movie. And it's a big musical. Because as many of you pointed out, by debuting Luca exclusively on Disney Plus, that could potentially disqualify the movie from next year's Oscars, because the Oscars haven't said that they're going to allow the same looser rules for qualification due to the pandemic next year as well. But with Soul almost guaranteed to win the Oscar this year for Best Animated Feature, perhaps Disney feels Encanto is their big awards contender next year, and that Luca probably won't win anyway, so Luca is going to take a hit for the team. Because Soul was really a big thing for Disney Plus. It really helped drive subscribership growth. It had huge chatter. Everyone just swarmed on it because it was available at release at no extra cost. And so I think they feel Luca will be the same benefit to them. Cruella, the less popular Disney Plus purchase based on your voting. I think it will likely have very long legs because remember, in less than a month it will be available on PVOD first for purchase, then rental, and then it will go back to Disney Plus at no extra cost. But remember, the first trailer did boffo business for Cruella. People were very interested in it. It was huge. So Cruella, I think, could also end up surprising people as a last-minute guilty pleasure purchase. After all, it'll be the next big movie after Mortal Kombat, which hits mid-April, so by the time the end of May rolls around, you'll likely be very hungry for some blockbuster fare. Finally, as for Free Guy, I see a world where that debuts day and date on Hulu, to be honest with you, and on the Star vertical on Disney Plus in foreign countries. But it's a Fox movie, and Disney isn't too concerned about those. But this move means that the other Ryan Reynolds movie, set for approximately the same date that was just minding its own business, will now need to move, which I'm sure gave the mouse a good laugh. Now, are movie theaters in danger? I've been saying that they'll be just fine for a while now, but with this new 45-day deal that Warner Brothers put in place, I feel that they are in a little bit of danger now. But you know what? I feel about movie theaters the way I did about when taxis fell to Uber and other ride-sharing companies. And that's that taxis did it to themselves by providing really poor customer experiences because they felt they were the only game in town. So what else were you going to do? And then suddenly they weren't the only game in town, and it really just completely upended the whole industry. So I think that movie theaters in some form will continue. I think that they'll probably go more upmarket. And I think that they'll focus more on that customer experience because, you know, they need to have a good reason for you to not wait 45 days, just a little, like a month and a half, to see this movie in the comfort of your own home. So we'll see what happens. But again, I think that, you know, it's just like all of these big battles. Who wins? We do. All right, so share your thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.